Hey guys, in this video we are going to be talking about network requests, RESTful APIs and HTTP verbs in Flutter and Dart. Network requests, in simple terms, are ways in which computers ask or communicate with other computers, commonly through the HTTPS protocol, which is an encrypted communication protocol and is used to facilitate resource sharing. What's an API? An API is a application programming interface, which in simplistic ways can be thought of as an in-between guy who receives incoming requests, passes them off to the server or to the other computer, and then sends back the response, commonly in JSON format. JSON format is a JavaScript object notation format, which is string keys. It looks like an object, but it's not exactly an object. And this is what creates the request response cycle, where a computer sends a request. It goes through an API, and the API sends it to the server. The API takes this response and sends it back to the originally requesting computer. There are two types of APIs: graph-based APIs, GraphQL, and traditional RESTful APIs, which are more common as of the moment. The focus for this is on RESTful APIs because that's what we will be consuming to illustrate how to use Flutter's HTTP package. RESTful APIs are just a type of API that will get you predefined resources depending on the request that it has received. You cannot specify specific parts of that resource that it will send back to you. So it is an all or nothing type of thing. This has a possible downside of possibly overfetching, which is where you get way more data than you actually need. Let's say you get an entire user object that has 10 fields and you just need the username only. It also has the opposite possibility where you underfetch data. Say you need the user and you need the user's transactions, so you need to make two requests, one to get you the user object and then maybe another one to get corresponding or the related transaction object. Example in terms of URL structures would be localhost 3000 would be now where your resource lives or the home of your API. And then localhost 3000 / resource called to-dos would be where a resource called to-dos lives. If you hit that API, you will get back a response of all the to-dos in the system. The third example with the one at the end would be a way of specifying a specific to-do item that you want. Say you don't want all the 10 to-dos, you want to do number 10. Then you would say /10 depending on the unique identifier. In this case, the assumption is that the unique identifiers are just integers. And this unique identifier is also what you would use to tell the API which resource perhaps you want updated or which resource you no longer need, if you have the permissions and the necessary access to that. The HTTP verbs, the common HTTP verbs are get. This is a verb that basically you're telling the API that you need a certain resource from the server, and the API will get you the resource. So you can either get one resource by specifying a specific identifier along with the request, or you can get all the resources in that specific request. And then post, which is you're telling the API that I'm giving you this data, I want it added to whatever resources are in there. Let's say you want to post an extra to do, so then the API will add this, and this is a post request. Put or patch is when now your computer or your request is saying that I need a certain resource with its identifier changed to this new resource that I'm sending along with my request, to have this new information or these new values that I'm sending along with my request. Delete is when you tell the API that you want to delete a certain resource and you pass along an identifier, a unique identifier. All of these HTTP verbs and all of these transactions on the data have restrictions for security purposes, also to protect the API from abuse, except usually the get method, because this will just return to you all the publicly available data that you would usually find anywhere when you go to the website. There's a lot of other things to a thorough understanding of network requests, including query parameters, headers, security tokens, among others. So to keep this video approachable for beginners, we have just taken the overview approach to just give the most basic and the most fundamental blocks you need to sort of understand what we'll be talking about in the coming video, what we'll be demonstrating in the coming video. For our case, Flutter is a front-end framework, so an API sits between one computer and another. Usually the sending computer is a client and the receiving computer is a server. So the API will sit in between these two computers, and usually the client application is the front-end application. So Flutter is a front-end mobile and cross-platform framework. So in our case, Flutter will be consuming an API, which is a terminology used when you're communicating to an API and you're getting resources and your application is using the resources. So you can have entire applications that depend on external APIs, and your front-end application doesn't need to care about the security, doesn't really need to know. You can just use them. Some of them are free, most of them have free tiers, and you can create really cool applications with them. So in the next video, we will be demonstrating how to use the HTTP client that's available in Flutter to consume an API. I'll be using the JSON server for that. If you found value in this video, please remember to like the video and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.